Hi, my name is Zach McDonough, and I'm going to go over my top 10 skills and qualities of a good nurse leader. So first, an introduction and a little context. There are many skills and qualities that go into being a good leader, and what might go into a top 10 list could vary day to day or hour to hour depending on recent situations. These traits can also be seen as interrelated or prerequisite of each other. For example, it's probably difficult to effect change efficiently without being able to communicate effectively why the change is needed. Like quite a few others, I think I'm also a new grad, so my glasses are likely tinted by the challenges I'm currently experiencing, like learning how to ask for assistance. This is also my first healthcare job in nearly 20 years, so I haven't experienced many nurse leaders in the trenches to be able to draw real-life inspiration from them. Anyhow, let's get going. Number 10 is delegation. One of the hardest things that I'm finding in my new nursing career is that. As much as we want to make sure that everything is perfect or not inconvenience anybody else, we can't do that all the time. We either end up as control freaks or drowning in our own to-do lists. Asking for someone else to stop what they're doing and assist you is difficult, especially if the task isn't too glamorous. A good leader is also able to assign the correct tasks to the correct person. They're not going to assign a new grad to the most critical patient on the floor, for example. So they need to know the rights of delegation, which is right task, right circumstance, right person, right supervision, and right directions. Number 9 for me is mentorship. I already knew going into my first nursing job that there was still a ton of things that I was going to need to learn, and school was only just the start. New devices, new processes, and so on. Without a good mentor, I would be lost. But this isn't something that stops after our first job or even after we've been on a unit for a good amount of time. As nurses, we are always learning, especially from each other, and the ability and drive to teach not only students and new hires, but also our peers is imperative to being a good leader. Number 8 is accountability. We have to remember as leaders that we don't just hold others accountable for their work, but we need to do that for ourselves as well. I think we can all remember the boss that runs on the one set of rules for me, another for you mindset, and how much we took them seriously as leaders. So we can't just go around touting our victories, we also need to own up to our own mistakes. Not only are we being transparent and fair, but we are also letting our performance expectations be known and leading by example. Next is decisiveness. Not everyone is going to want to accomplish the same task the same way, and a good leader needs to be able to step in and guide everyone on the same path when it's needed. Even worse, this or complete indecision could happen in an emergency, and it's all the more imperative for a leader to set the course and get everyone on board. These decisions also need to be made quickly, but also confidently. Otherwise, there may not be buy-in from everyone if a leader doesn't sound like they believe in themselves. Number 6 for me is trustworthiness. When we look to leaders that are good, we don't question everything they say. If we did, things might not ever get done or there would be chaos in the ranks. Just as our patients count on us to shoot straight with them, as leaders we are counted on to do the same. As soon as we're caught in a falsehood or a half-truth, we lose the trust and buy-in of others. As soon as we say we'll do something and don't, we run the chance of that person no longer coming to us when they actually do need something important. Number 5 is to be emotionally intelligent. So to start, this is defined as the subset of emotional intelligence that involves the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions, to discriminate among them, and to use this information to guide one's thinking and actions. I'm not sure anyone would say that they would or even should handle a situation where they or someone else was irritable or angry the same way that they would when they are in a great mood. A good leader needs to be able to read the room and, within reason, alter things like delegation or communication strategies depending on how they, an individual, or the whole team's emotional state is. This also means that they need to be able to read themselves and the room, because not everyone emotes the same way or has the same self-awareness. Being emotionally intelligent can have benefits, such as showing that you care for your team as people and heading off conflicts before they can get started in the first place. Next is being able to resolve conflict. Everyone is going to have differing opinions, and they might prioritize the reasoning behind those opinions rather highly. Nursing is already a high-stress career, so a leader needs to be able to diffuse situations that arise from these differences, including when they themselves are involved. When you're part of the conflict, it can be much more challenging, and as a leader, this might actually be more likely to happen. Potential conflict should also be dealt with as soon as they arise so that things don't fester and make themselves worse. A leader should also be a mediator with a calm demeanor, looking for a win-win situation for all involved. Number 3 for me is change management. Nursing and healthcare as a whole is a rapidly evolving enterprise. With things like new technologies and staff shortages, we always have to be on our toes for what change comes our way next. The problem is that change is hard because it brings us outside of our comfort zones. So with the seemingly myriad changes that come at us as nurses, we as leaders need to be adept at managing it within our teams. One example to help get buy-in is being transparent with our teams and making sure that they know the why of the change, the benefits, and the pitfalls if the change isn't implemented. Even being told hard truths is still better than being handed down edicts from the manager's office. In the penultimate spot is being a servant leader. What some leaders tend to forget is that they're there for the team, not the other way around. The job of a leader is to make everyone's life easier, not to show that you're the boss. Too often we recall times where everyone is busting their humps just to look back and see the manager having a leisurely lunch in their office or some other similar situation. If you expect your people to work hard for you, work hard for them. Don't forget where you came from and pitch in where you can. If a leader begins to think, or even appear as though they do, that tasks are below their station, there's going to be a ton of respect and trust that's lost, and less willingness to put in that extra effort. Being an effective communicator comes out on top for me because so many of the other traits hinge on it. If you can't explain why a change needs to happen, why is someone going to buy into it? If you can't listen to what another is telling you or pick up on how they're feeling, how are you supposed to relate and prevent conflict? If your nonverbal tells are saying something different than what your words are, who's going to believe you? And if you can't adequately express how something should be done, how can others learn from you? Without effective communication, a leader simply can't lead. So, in conclusion, not every situation is going to need or warrant every style of leadership, so leaders should develop a repertoire. Be on the lookout when you work for good and not so good traits of leaders you see, and use these experiences to help develop your own styles. In the end, though, a lot comes down to being a good person and treating others as you would want them to be treated if your roles were reversed. Thanks for watching.